All right, what's going on, y'all? Hey, not too long after that video I put out earlier today, I got a phone call from somebody that I enjoy talking to. And it's related to this issue that I talk about on this channel. Thought I might share some things from that conversation while they're fresh on my mind. Might be helpful to somebody. It's kind of embarrassing. It's not something that I go around and just relay to people I meet, but might be helpful. We were talking about, what it's like to really experience desires to be of the opposite sex and how that came to be. So I shared some of my formative experiences, and they might seem kind of innocent, and maybe you could look at your life if this is something you struggle with and see little things that kind of pave the way to a way of thinking. So I shared with this person that I was into Goosebumps. I'm 37, so this is back in the mid 90s. I was reading these books. They're horror fiction. A lot of it has to do with changing, transformation, magic. So it just gets you into this way of thinking about the world, of escaping into some different reality. I was reading books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. They're good books, but they're told from the perspective of a young girl. And so I started to enter into her world and found it interesting and entertaining. I really enjoyed her storytelling. Probably not the best thing for a young boy to be reading. I remember there was movies and different ways media influences us. I think Disney had this movie called Wish Upon a Star. And I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's just about these two sisters, and one sister trades place with the other sister. And I think I found that interesting, and I started to entertain different fantasies. Um, I have a sister. She had friends come over, and I started to watch them, and some of her friends I started to identify with and really admire, and so it wasn't healthy. So I was a foolish young boy, and you know I guess what I was getting at with this person as I talked to him is that when we're young and foolish, we set ourselves up for problems later in life. And what we could do is start to build our life upon some of that foolishness and just maintain that those were good decisions and we should just continue along on that trajectory. Or in my case, I've decided, hey, that was foolish. If I could go back and be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old again with everything I know, I wouldn't be consuming that content. I'd be doing other things. I'd be finding ways to enjoy being a boy and doing things. Um, Instead, I entertained those fantasies, and it really set me up for problems that are really deep rooted, and it's taken me years to root out with God's help. I think femininity is attractive because God made it that way. Women are beautiful. They're, the ones that I identified with, I really appreciated their being kind and gracious. They had characteristics that were appealing, and I think that that's a healthy and good thing to appreciate about a girl. But when a boy starts to identify with that or somehow want that for himself, it becomes an envy and a jealousy, and it's internalized. And this is before I was sexual. So, the autogynephilia that is really the best description, of what I've struggled with, what a lot of men with these issues struggle with. It's a sexual thing, but these people in the transgender um, community say, well, it's not sexual for us. And it's like, okay. I can tell you these things that were going on before I was sexual, that I was identifying with female things, but I would go on about my day and it didn't take over my life. And then once, you hit adolescence and sexuality just really takes off, it really, took on a whole new life. Um, but I was just communicating to this person that, hey, let's just be real. We got a problem, and we could try to pretend like we don't. I might have shared in other videos before, but I think those that really are on the forefront of the transgender movement, the advocates, are really not much different than the Pharisees when Jesus came. Jesus was like, here, I'm here to help you. I'm here. Um, and the Pharisees were like, we don't need any help. We're fine. Jesus is like, well, I didn't come for those that are well, but I came for the sick. Those are the folks that need a doctor. And the Pharisees are like, no, we don't need any doctors. And, very similar to the transgender advocates are like, we're good. we're fine. We don't need Jesus. We don't need anything. Society's got problems, and there's a self-righteousness often associated with those that are trying to bully us all into reinforcing what they believe. So I definitely want to. I can understand the struggle. I mean, I know what it's like to have very. I still have that, back in the background. I know what it's like to really, really want to be female, and it's kind of embarrassing, but I can understand the struggle. I'm thankfully been battling this seriously with God's help for 15 years, so it doesn't dominate my life. But I put a lot of focus and energy on being a man, and it just makes a lot more sense than continuing to throw fuel on the fire that I started when I was a foolish young boy. So maybe that'll be helpful. People that it doesn't necessarily tell you how to get. I mean, I really want to point you to Jesus. If you're going to get free from this, that's the only help I can really do for you. But maybe it helps normalize, like, hey, um, maybe I mean I know I got issues. We all do, but if I can be of help, I will. I do want to communicate that there is hope to change. That these things, they can be deep rooted. They can really be hard to shake. They can almost haunt you, but with God's help, He can help us put that behind us, and we can really make, peace with who we are, who God made us to be. Because as great as it is to be a girl, it's just as good to be a boy. God created us equal. So I enjoy reality. So I've decided if I'm going to be a man, I'm going to be a good man. Like I described some of the positive traits of a female. Men ought to be strong, ought to be courageous, ought to be good leaders and providers, lovers, protectors. So if I'm going to be a man, I'm going to try and be good at that. There's overlap. You know, Males and females, we share a lot of things in common. I was talking to my wife, and she's like, girls struggle with feeling feminine. Instead, sometimes we have days where we just feel like ourselves. And so I think the stereotypes in our society sometimes cause problems because there's a room for a diversity of ways to express masculinity and femininity. But at the root of a lot of the problems that we struggle with, I think there's things that happen early in childhood. Thankfully, I was never sexually abused, but that can also be a part of just twisting things up inside with how we relate to ourselves. But the good news is that God can meet us right where we're at. That Jesus is willing to help us if we're willing to come to Him on His terms. And so I'm just continuing to follow Him. Thought I might share a few of these thoughts from our conversation this afternoon, and continue to wish you all the best. God bless. Bye-bye.